Good morning, beloveds. The doves are cooing. It's hard to attribute what they do to singing today outside. And I've noticed, I think I live far enough south that birds come here to winter. Because growing up, they always say, watch for the first robin of spring. I see robins in January. That's definitely not spring. So I'm like, we must be in the migration pattern. So we see them a whole lot earlier than whoever made up that saying. Because the robins have been everywhere lately. I've seen a few cardinals. The doves, like I said, the doves are singing today. And there's these little bitty finches everywhere. Everywhere. I mean, we've got our usual sparrows, but they're smaller and they're fast. So, yeah, the birds are out and talking. But the was really nice yesterday. Okay, it was cloudy, but it got up into the 70s. I had my windows open most of the day. So it's going to be a little cooler today, but not a whole lot. And that's okay, because I'm going to go see Shakespeare in the park. No, literally, I'm going to go see Shakespeare in the park. One of my friends has a non-profit theater, Haven Arts Theater, and as with any, actor, they're itching to get back to work. And so they were like, well, if we can't do it indoors, let's do it in the park. So we can social distance and sit, away from each other and wear masks. I mean, the actors aren't, but they've been getting tests and taking all the precautions. So we're going to go see Much Ado About Nothing today. All right. It is the last day of January. We are finished with the month of beginnings, which is kind of funny. We're ending the month of beginnings. And every beginning is an ending, and every ending is a new beginning. So bear that in mind. So January 31st, my thought establishes new beginnings. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. And that is Isaiah 65:17. Nothing is ever twice alike. It is said that the physical body is never more than a year old, that we discard many bodies through this life. Everything is continuously being recreated, and it literally is true that the creative spirit is forever making a new heaven and a new earth. We must permit it to make them new for us. I empty my mind of every thought of fear and doubt. I condemn no one and no thing, not even myself. Forgetting that which is past and having no fear for the future, I live today as though a new heaven and a new earth were already accomplished facts in my experience. I live in harmony with people and with all the situations around me. I see and feel the presence of good running through everything. I have complete faith that this divine presence reveals itself to me in every thought, in every word, and in every act. There is nothing in my past and nothing in my thought about the future that can in any way deny me the pleasure and the privilege of living today as though everything were complete and perfect. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. My whole experience is of much and more of good and better. The future is bright with hope and fulfillment. The present is perfect, and no past failure mars today's understanding. I would say that that's the very definition of let it go. Let it go. Forget the past. Which in a lot of ways is good. It is good. And here we're talking about personal pasts. Not necessarily because there is in the history community those who forget the past are doomed to repeat it. So but if you have made mistakes and learned from them, that being the operative word, you've learned from your mistakes to the point that you will not make them again, then forget them and move on. Forget them and move on. Don't let your past mistakes cloud your future. And don't let them cloud today. You know, if we're going to live in the now, don't let them cloud today. So my thought establishes new beginnings. That's what Science of Mind is about. It's how your thoughts affect your everything. How your thoughts can literally change your reality. And the Bible quote is, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind." And that is Isaiah. And one of the things that you have to bear in mind, Isaiah is one of the long books, and Isaiah was a prophet. There were probably at least 3 Isaiahs. The biblical scholars have looked at it and goes, well, there's 3 different styles of writings in the book of Isaiah. So it's probably at least 3 prophets that went by Isaiah. And he was a exile prophet. And that's one of the things that you have to bear in mind when you're reading Isaiah, when you're reading the prophets, is when were they writing? Were they writing before the exile, during the exile, or after the exile? I believe Isaiah was mostly during the exile. And so he's like, okay, people, you see, we've screwed up big time here, and now we don't get to live in our homeland, and we're living here, and we're doing this stuff, and we're not happy about it. But there's a promise of a new beginning. And let's hold on to that. Let's hold on to the promise of a new beginning. Let's hold on to, we're going to get to go home again. But for us to go home again, we need to remember who we are, and go back to doing what it is that we are supposed to be doing. And then when we go home, we'll still be who we are. We'll just be better versions of ourselves. Hopefully that makes sense. So, nothing is ever alike, never twice alike. It is said that the physical body is never more than a year old, that we discard many bodies through this lifetime. And if you go through and look at science bears up on this. There are cells in your body that literally turn over every day. And then there are cells in your body that take time to turn over, up to 7 years. So, like every 7 years, every single cell in your body has turned over, but you are still you. It's pretty fascinating. Everything is continuously being recreated, and it is literally true that the creative spirit is forever making a new heaven and a new earth. We must permit it to make them new for us. Okay, so just take a peek at quantum physics. From 1 minute to the next, the world is anew, according to quantum physics. It's like blink and it's a whole new world. It's mind-boggling, is what I will say about quantum physics. I enjoyed my time in quantum physics. I'm glad I'm not a quantum physicist. Because it is, and it connects the world in ways that are, again, I'm going to use the word mind-boggling. But it shows us that from 1 minute to the next, it's a new world, and how our decisions, and yea, our thoughts, affect that reality, and how in a minute it can change. But that last line, we must permit it to make them new for us. He uses the capital I there. Permit it. Permit spirit to make them new for us. And that's, you can take that literally and you can take it metaphysically. To let spirit make it, the world around us, new for us is partly about perspective. It's partly about opening our eyes and seeing spirit around us. And it's partly about literally letting spirit and our thoughts change our reality around us. So we must permit it to make them new for us, to make the heaven and earth new for us. I empty my mind of every thought of fear and doubt. I mean, if we're going to get into quantum physics, could really make you go, oh my gosh. But if we're going to permit spirit to make a new world, why have thought and why have any fear and doubt? Because it's going to color our reality. So let them go. I condemn no one and no thing, not even myself. And that's a big one. That's a big one about let it go. If you have learned from your past mistakes, let them go. Don't let them color this new world that spirit is making for you. Forgetting that which is past and having no fear for the future, I live today as though a new heaven and a new earth were already accomplished facts in my experience. That's basic science of mind. It's like when we treat for something, we treat as if we already have it. And then we let it go and don't worry about the how. This is what we desire to bring into reality. And it's like, I've already got it. And that's where gratitude comes in. I've already got it and I'm grateful for it. Now I'm just going to wait until it gets to me. Or take the guidance to go get it, because there's an aspect of that too. I live in harmony with people and with all of the situations that surround me. Ooh, I live in harmony with the people and with all of the situations that surround me. And that can ask something of us. Because sometimes the people that live around us are not harmonious. And so it does ask us to find ways to be harmonious with them, or if we cannot, to move ourselves out of that situation. It's like, if you got a situation that you are living in that is not harmonious, what can you do to make it more harmonious? And if you cannot, can you remove yourself from it? Because you're allowed to do that. I see and feel the presence of good running through everything. That's an ask. I have complete faith that this divine presence reveals itself to me in every thought, in every word, and in every act. Okay, I have complete faith that this divine presence reveals itself. And that is what I'm talking about in that shift of perspective. It's like to become consciously aware of the spirit around you all of the time and to accept the guidance that will allow you to see the good and to live in that harmonious. It's like, you know, that moment when somebody says something to you and you could say this or you could say that, and you let the divine within you choose what will make a more harmonious response. And then you are choosing your response, not your reaction. The difference between a response and a reaction is a response we choose and a reaction happens. And then we can deal with the fallout of the reaction. Which is why I talk about default settings, because when we work to be conscious of the good and conscious of the spirit and conscious of that guidance, then our reactions are going to be more like responses, because we are going to react in that kind, compassionate, loving, harmonious way. Because we can teach ourselves that, so that even our reactions are in the nature of spirit. There is nothing in my past experience and nothing in my thought about the future that can in any way deny me the pleasure and the privilege of living today as though everything were complete and perfect. Saying that to yourself 5 times fast. Actually, that's not a bad thing to say when you get up in the morning. And it really is about letting your past lie and not worrying about the future. One of the quick and easy definitions of depression and anxiety is depression is living in the past, and anxiety is living in the future. And neither one of them are living now. And so if we can let the past lie, I mean, we've learned what we needed to from our past, and we can let our past lie, and we can trust in spirit and trust in the guidance of spirit. It's like we're not blindly walking into the future. We are planning, but we are trusting the planning, and we are not worrying about the planning, and we are trusting the guidance of spirit. Then we're not worrying about the future. Okay, so we are going to, by doing that, then we are going to have the pleasure and the privilege of living today as though everything were complete and perfect. And we're going to work for it. For behold, I create a new heaven and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. My whole expectancy is of much and more, of good and better. And that's one of the things we do in treatment. When we don't know what to treat for, we treat for the highest and the best. This or more. This or better. Why not live that way? Why not live that way? Too often we are worried about what could go wrong. Not often enough do we think about what could go right. Much and more, good and better. The future is bright with hope and fulfillment. The present is perfect, and no past failure mars today's understanding. And I think that the difference between a past failure, it's like, yes, we can make mistakes, but if we learned from them, then they're not failures. The only failure is when you have failed to learn. Because we are human. We are spiritual beings having human experience, and the material world does cloud us. And we work to not be clouded and confused by the material world. You want more on that? Check into the Gnostics. And their idea of Sophia. Because Sophia came down to check out what was going on down here and got completely clouded and caught. Sophia being wisdom. So, if that way, we're gonna make mistakes, and it's okay. They're not failures unless we fail to learn from them. So we learn from them and we move on. So what our mission today, should we choose to accept it? And I saw it. Where was it? Oh, well, probably right there. To empty our mind of every fear and doubt. To see the presence of good running through everything. And that means that when we are in the midst of the chaos that we can call life, that we see the presence of good. That we see it within ourselves, that we see it in the environment around us, that we see it in other people. And that is one of the reasons why I like to remind you to see, when you are looking in each other's eyes and when you are looking into your own eyes in the mirror, to see God looking back at you. The more we practice it, the more it becomes our default setting, the more when those situations arise that are not harmonious and peaceful and all of that, then we can respond to them rather than react to them. So, as always, I encourage you to please do something loving for yourself, do something kind for yourself, do something compassionate for yourself. Every day, because you are worth it. You are the beloved child of Spirit, in whom Spirit is well pleased, always and forever. That is the state of grace that we live in. Please remember that. Please know that you are beloved by Spirit. And there is nothing you can do to change that. And I love to say that. I love to say that. This is. And it's a wonderful thing not to be able to change. So, I would encourage you to do something to engage your mind and your body. It looks like it's going to be another fantastic day. Today might be a good day to open your windows and to get some fresh air. That fresh air will bring a fresh perspective. It looks like we also have some sun, so go and get some sunlight on your face. 5-10 minutes. It'll reset your hormones, it'll make you feel better, and drink plenty of water. Big believer in water. So, open the windows of your soul. Allow the breath of heaven to remind you you live in heaven now. It is all around you. It just takes your conscious willingness to participate. All right, beloveds. It is Sunday. That means that at 11 o'clock, we will be right here with you on Facebook Live to have an amazing service. We are finishing up the month of basics, so this will be a wrap up. It'll be good. Jesse always does really well in the month of the basics. And then Reverend David will be on with you around 5 p.m. I will be back with you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, beloveds. Do what you need to do to make it a wonderful day.